hello, fashionistas. It's Elaine Lessig on behalf of the Canine Chronicle on their webpage and on the Facebook page. But we have a partner today, and it's the Westminster Kennel Club, and it's the show you have all been waiting for, fashionistas, Westminster 2024. And of course, we have to do this with Don Sturz, who not only is the show chairman, but the president of Westminster Kennel Club. And with their good graces, we're here today. And so I'm welcoming Don to the Canine Chronicle Closet Confidential. Normally we do this in a closet, but since I'm in flux of moving, we don't have my closet, but we're going to have a fabulous closet as soon as the house is finished.
There we go.
So I think what everybody likes to know about Westminster every year are the things that kind of make them comfortable about what happens next. You know, they say on Sesame Street, what happens next. I think people like to know that. I mean, lots of people were there last year, but they came with a bit of intrepidation because they didn't know. They were used to piers and they were used to the garden, but they didn't understand what it is to be at the U.S. Tennis Center.
Yes.
So I don't know if you're aware of it, but I did a video. I walked through the whole grounds with a cameraman from the Canine Chronicle, and we sent that out to people, and they found it to be very valuable. Where this is, where that is. And so give us the roadmap for Westminster 2024.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks for having me, Elaine.
Of course.
We appreciate your being a champion of Westminster, and we're thrilled that you'll be on the judging panel for us this year. And as we were talking earlier, I think the world is awaiting to see what you wear in the ring, as always. So we'll all wait for that. As far as the roadmap for somebody coming to Westminster 24 at the tennis center, I think it's a few things that I think is important for people to be aware of at this moment in time is, fortunately or unfortunately, the 4 host hotels that partner with Westminster are completely sold out, and which is a great sign for the event. But not such great news for those who didn't make their reservations yet. So I think that's something for people to know and to be aware of is they're going to be needing to be a little creative when it comes to finding hotels. There are other hotels in the area. One of the things that I point out to people is that especially those who still want to make it, a full New York City experience, is that Manhattan is not that far away from the tennis center. A lot of people stayed Midtown last year and reported that it was so easy. Just you shoot through the Midtown tunnel on the LIE. The tennis center is one exit off of the LIE on Grand Central, and you're in a reverse commute in the morning. So,
or you can also take the train to LaGuardia.
Well, I was going to say the other option is mass transit. You could take Long Island Railroad from Penn Station, goes right to the tennis center, or the 7 train from Grand Central goes right to the tennis center. And so there's multiple ways to access from Manhattan, quite easily. The other thing that I would suggest for people who were fortunate enough to get rooms in one of the host hotels, Westminster will once again be offering its shuttle services. And the shuttles will run every 30 minutes from those hotel stops. And we have made a significant commitment to the fact that people are being made aware it's dogs first. So if there are exhibitors with dogs, they're the first ones on the shuttle, because we want to make sure everyone gets there in enough time so they have a pleasant and relaxed experience and don't feel rushed and so on. So there's that piece of it, right? Where you're going to stay and how you're going to get there. We really encourage people to use mass transit, to use the shuttles, use Uber services, because the tennis center is notorious for having very limited parking options in the area. And we have worked with the Queensborough Tourism Board and the Queensborough President's Office to try to, create more options for us. And those parking options we do have, there are shuttle services from those parking lots, back to the tennis center. But if you're staying at one of the host hotels, use the shuttle, don't drive. It'll just save you and everyone a whole lot of stress. It'll drop you right off in parking lot A. The unloading in the parking lot is again going to be overseen by John Miller and his crew, who do an amazing job, right? And we all know them. They know us. They know how to do it. And they'll get you unloaded and set up. We have exactly the same setup as we had last year. Last year we weren't sure, right? It was a test run, but it went extremely well. So we went with the approach of if it's not broke, don't fix it. And
It was
so
the best ever transportation system. And from my point of view, don't take an Uber. If you want to take the Uber to where one of those sites is where you can pick up the shuttle and get on the shuttle because it will take you exactly where you need to go.
there you
Where
go.
the Ubers can't really do that. So I tell everybody, even if you have to pay to park at one of the hotels, you're better off doing that than trying to get a car in there.
I think the caution I would be is I don't know if I would want people thinking they're going to be able to park at the hotel because those lots will be full from all the people staying there. So I just want people to think ahead, right? Think, plan accordingly that these are things to take into consideration. The grooming tents are set up exactly the same as they were. And I would say, just be sure you leave yourself enough time, to get there and to be able to enjoy. The ring setups are exactly the same. We have the 6 outdoor rings, completely tented. We added a little tenting for the entrance areas to the courts so that they are completely covered from grooming tent to ring. Again, priority for Westminster is dogs and exhibitors. And we wanted to make sure that there was shade if it's sunny and cover if it rains for dogs and exhibitors. So that's a bump up that we did do.
I think that's a really good bump up
Thank
because we
you.
never know what the weather's going to be.
You never
That's
know.
great.
You never know. And we were so lucky last year, right, to have just perfect weather for an outdoor show. But we may not have that luck, and so we're trying to be mindful of that. I think one of the things that we're really excited about is a new partnership with a company called Field Turf that reached out to us. Historically, there always been comments with regards to the footing at Westminster. Back in the day when it was at Madison Square Garden, people complained about the carpets because people were slipping on them when they were running, and it was hard to stack the dogs because their feet were slipping, and people were spraying and soaking the dogs' pads so that they wouldn't slip. Then we moved forward in time, and once we were at the piers and the agility event was happening in the same space, we needed turf for traction for agility, and that became the surface for the conformation rings only because it was not possible to have the breakdown and setup and the time frame. So that turf has always been a bit of a struggle because it's a little rough. It's it can be rough on dogs' pads. It's rough on knees. And so on. So had already been talking about this, and then just the universe, made this happen. Field Turf, which is a company that does the turf for a lot of major athletic events, wanted to be the official turf for Westminster. And
Weren't
so,
they smart?
yes, it really, really cool. And so we worked something out. And so they sent us a large number of samples. So I had, the dozen of these squares of turf on my desk. And we actually did testing in the Westminster office, with all the staff of like, okay, put your hands on this, put your weight down. Now let's get down, kneel on them. And so we chose what we felt was the most comfortable of all the options that they presented. And again, it's turf, so it's not going to be as silky smooth as a carpet might be, but we are hoping that people will experience it as being somewhat of an improvement over what we had before. So that's
As long as women don't ruin their $25 a pair pantyhose, I think we might have a real hit here.
There we go. There we go. One of the other improvements, we made was something that we noticed last year in order to do what we did, right, transform the tennis center into a dog show venue, we had to have flooring over the courts. And so underneath the turf is actually a well-constructed surface underneath. And what we found last year was there was a little bit of too much give on the floor. And so we asked the contractors to engineer it differently this year with more support throughout so that there's not as much give on the floor when the dogs are gaiting. So that hopefully people will see and appreciate, as an improvement. The issue of food, was another thing that, was a challenge, with the tennis center, because if you've been there for the US Open, there's lots of restaurants open. Those are all privately owned restaurants, and it's just not economically feasible for restaurant owners to open a restaurant for a couple of days. So we worked with the tennis center. They're still working with some of their partners with food, trying to expand our offerings. But something that we were able to do was to, and we discovered this actually last summer. We went as a team, the Westminster team, to the US Open to see what they do at the US Open with this venue. And one of the things we came away with was food kiosks and carts. And so we felt that was an option if we could have that. And so the tennis center is working with us on that to make those available. And I keep joking, the one cart that I have to have was the guy who sells gelato. I'm like, I just want the gelato guy. So hopefully they come through with the kiosks and carts, and that will be fun. It'll be a true New York City experience, right? Food on the street, so
Food trucks at the tennis.
yeah. Exactly. We're also going to have an outdoor bar in the courtyard area. So
Well,
people,
that'll be a busy place.
I think that'll be popular.
Do you know that
find,
Crufts has done that for years?
yeah, and this is something that we Westminster's had in the past as well, and we're thrilled to be able to bring that this year. And the one of the partnerships that's really exciting is the Museum of the Dog. So when you get down across the court to go get a cocktail, right there is going to be the Museum of the Dog doing a digital installation, a whole immersive experience for spectators and exhibitors to enjoy and experience. And we have don't know how familiar you are with Dog TV. That's the company that created TV for dogs to watch when their owners are away at work. And they've expanded, and they've created a whole array of programming options. They're going to be there this year, and they're creating an interactive experience as well for exhibitors and their dogs. So that will be fun. Purina, our presenting partner, will be there in full force and very present. And we've just got a lot of fun new things. The Westminster store itself, for those amongst your fashionistas who like to shop,
Oh, they all do.
the Westminster merch will be there, and we'll be featuring a lot of our standard favorites that sell out every year, but we've also brought in some new merch. So if you've been before and think you have seen everything, still go back because we've got new stuff, and we had
And
fun.
remember, get there early because the stuff disappears really
It
quickly.
does. It flies off the shelves. One of the things that I think also is going to be fun is Cosequin is sponsoring an exhibitor's hospitality, which is actually right above the Westminster store. And that's going to be available during the day for exhibitors to go up and get some, snacks and beverages and so on, courtesy of Cosequin. So that's lovely. This year's show is the 90th anniversary of junior showmanship at Westminster. And so we've made that a huge celebration. Purina is sponsoring our junior celebration on Monday afternoon from 3 to 5. Juniors are being invited to the presidential suite in the Arthur Ashe Stadium, and it will be catered and a fun affair. And so we're really looking forward to that. And we're also looking to do something on Tuesday morning as well, like a celebratory breakfast, maybe with a cereal bar and that kind of thing. So lots of
we can give them that kind of a bar legally.
Exactly. Yeah. So and there'll be swag bags courtesy of Purina for all the juniors, and so there's a lot going on in that way as well. Yeah. So it's just a lot of things that we wanted to elevate the experience, right? We left the nuts and bolts pretty much the same, and then we just went from there.
But that's a tradition, in my opinion, of Westminster. It's always been a club that's learned whether things are good or things are bad, how to elevate and be positive about the things you do have and forgiving the things you can't have.
Yeah, and that's I find one of the challenges in this leadership role for Westminster is being true and committed to paying homage to our history, our traditions, our legacy, and at the same time keeping the event relevant and current and moving it forward and elevating it. And so I think that's one of the things that also Westminster does well. That it's matured and evolved through the years, and keeping up with how people access their entertainment and access their information. One of the things that we just launched was our brand new website, westminsterkennelclub.org, complete facelift. We all need a little, being touched by an angel occasionally. And this website is amazing. And it was done by our Westminster staff in concert with our partner, Very. And it's awesome. And so, check that out. And everything about the show can be found on the Westminster website. And what
There's
you'll
ticket
find,
information for people who need to
everything,
get tickets for
and
the evening, for the
everything,
daytime, everything.
everything.
Except what they're serving at the bar, right?
Exactly. Well, we're hoping that there's a special Westminster cocktail, so we're waiting for that.
Oh,
When you get on
fun.
the grounds, you'll find also that a lot is going to be digitally driven. We're relying a lot on QR codes for people to be able to just, scan the QR code, and that'll take them right to the information they need and the information they're looking for. So just a lot of new, cool, fun things going on.
Will the TV coverage be the same?
TV coverage will be the same. Yeah, our partner is Fox Sports, and they will be featuring. We continue to be the only dog show that is broadcast live, and we will be on FS1 Monday and Tuesday evening. We just found out yesterday, actually, and this is in tandem with our celebration of junior showmanship. We've always had our live streaming during the day, which will continue. You can watch Breed's live streaming. You can watch Junior Showmanship live streaming. We have our live broadcast from 1 to 4 on Fox. And this year, for the very first time, and this is something people have commented and complained about, is the inability for us to show the Junior Showmanship finals, which are a big deal, like really, really, really significant. And it's because of the timing of the broadcast. Juniors goes on before the group starts. And there's just not enough time in the run of production to get it in. And this year, Fox is going to live stream the Junior Showmanship finals. So for the
That
very
is,
first time,
and people will be astounded about how amazing and emotional it is. You're watching the juniors, and it's like your heart is in that ring with them.
yeah,
No, do it. Yes,
yeah,
and the
yeah. I
cheering
mean,
that they get, that's wonderful. And
that's
especially with
so
Diego Garcia being your judge for your finals. I mean, he will make it a show.
Yeah, and there's a gentleman, who I think he just, is the epitome of everything that we talk about when it comes to, excellence in our sport.
Oh,
And
definitely.
definitely. His dogs are always perfectly presented and in impeccable condition, and he's always so well turned out. He and his wife Ev are just an amazing team, and I'm thrilled, to have him doing that this year.
And he will bring a real presence to that ring.
Absolutely.
And that's a wonderful thing, people, for the first time to see junior showmanship and to see how these juniors have worked a whole year to be able to stand in that ring.
And that's our future. I mean, so many individuals, who are in the sport now as, competitors and leaders and successful, started out, in the sport as juniors, and, myself included. I
I was
showed
going to say, well, I'm looking at one, aren't I?
yeah. I mean, it's, so it's definitely a personal, commitment for me, because I really believe in it. I think it is the future of our sport. And as with anything, if you don't encourage the youth and have them kind of pick up the torch and carry us forward, the sport can't continue. So I think that, that's an amazing aspect of this for us.
And it will give viewers a chance to see how amazing these juniors are, how finished they are, how meticulous they are in trying to do what they are loving to do. And I think that's really great. We always get there early to see the juniors because I like to do that. But it'd be really nice to see, to be able to see that way. I'm glad. And what about coverages in the booths this year? Any idea who's going to be there?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So Chris Myers will be the anchor from Fox. Jason Hoke will return, well-known judge. And
Absolutely.
a new member of the broadcast team is going to be somebody who's very well known to the sport. Former Best Junior Handler winner, multiple Best in Show winner, master breeder, talented handler. Valerie Nunez Atkinson will be.
Oh, well, she will bring a lot of depth to that.
Yeah,
right?
so I think she's going to bring a really great perspective, given her history and experience. So we're really looking forward to that.
Well, I'm going to try to snag an interview with with Valerie on that last year. Jason and I had a lovely talk. So now we'll go out and introduce Valerie to the community in this position. That's really great. And thinking about all the things, a couple of things that I wanted to say. I thought it was astounding the way Westminster came up from the depths and created this beautiful vision of Westminster Kennel Club at the Tennis Center. And hearing the improvements, I believe that it will be even better. And people who were reluctant to come should know by all the positive feedback it got that you have nothing to worry about. It's like, it's almost seamless, really, if you think about it. And so is Westminster considering keeping the tennis center as its core for going forward, or are you still planning to look into other venues for the future?
Well, Westminster is always looking at, multiple options, right? It goes back to that. How do we continue to elevate? And, one of the things that I think, is important for Westminster, as an organization, and certainly for me personally, is that we're coming up on our 150th anniversary. 2026 will be the 150th anniversary of the Westminster Kennel Club. And I would say, our vision and our hope, and I think a wonderful story would be that Westminster would return to its home in Madison Square Garden for its 150th. And so that is what's going on behind the scenes. And of course, we're very focused on 24 and the tennis center. It's fabulous. But the team is already working on 25 and 26.
Well, that's typical of Westminster's people. I mean, they're always forward thinking, which is what we have to be in world today.
And so I know there's a lot of speculation out there as to what may be happening. What I will tell you is that is the vision, that is the goal. And we hope to, shortly after the 24 show, be able to announce date, venue, and judging panel for the 2025 show, as well as the date and venue for 2026.
I just took that as just as a thought. So I'm glad I brought that up. See, people, we get exciting news here for this confidential. And the other thing I wanted to mention is I think it's glorious how losing your former show chair, Dave Helming, and how what a wonderful man who did everything he could to elevate all the things that you spoke about.
Yes.
And it's because he left things in such good condition that I think you were able to move forward. And I think that there should be an eternal amount of gratitude to him and to Peggy for everything that he did and that he left, and that we could go forward on his footsteps.
Absolutely, Elaine. The show is actually dedicated to Dave Helming's memory. And there was, an interview done with him, some years back, in which he got coined as the Wizard of Westminster. And I really think that was very apt because I've known Dave my entire life, and he and my family, have many connections outside of Westminster. And this was a tremendous loss for Westminster as a club. And it was also a tremendous loss for the sport because he had his hands in so many events at so many levels.
Absolutely.
And also, a tremendous loss for so many individuals on a personal level, because he was just that person. I always saw him as probably the most selfless person I know. He just was so generous with his time and with his support, and and did things with such quiet dignity. And
he was a true gentleman.
Yes, absolutely. And very much, preferred being behind the scenes and making sure that everything was going and working. And to your point, the Westminster Dog Show, to a great extent, where it's at now, and the intricacies, of, the event operations are really all due to, his foundation work of creating all of that. So it's, to some degree, it's a bit of a, an event in a box, so to speak, that there's just some basic things that are just Westminster now.
Well, as an engineer, he created structure.
Yes, absolutely. That's a beautiful way to put it, Elaine. And so, this is, I considered myself fortunate to have the time I had with him in this role, to be able to work with him and, benefit from, his insights and his knowledge and his experience. And I still, when I think about things and make decisions, I hear him. you know, in my head. And so, you know, I think, you know, his impact and influence on the show will be with us for, you know, quite a long time going forward. So,
And
but
I think that you were the perfect person to carry that wand and make it magic.
well, thank you. I do appreciate that. I'm no Dave Helming, that's for sure. But like I said, I benefited from learning from him, and I think we both had that same passion about Westminster and how important it is to the sport, how important it is, you know, to each of us as individuals. I think it's an event that you know, you use the word magic. I think that is it. You know, it's the Westminster magic that we're very committed to always creating, no matter where or when we occur. And you know, and what that is, it's sometimes not tangible. You know, it's all of, you know, the bells and whistles we talk about, but there's something else. There's an aura around this event that creates this universal emotional connection between dog people all around the world. And I don't know of any other dog show event that really truly captures that. And so, you know, it's a tremendous responsibility, but it's a responsibility filled with a tremendous amount of love. So,
Well, congratulations to the Westminster Kennel Club on getting ready for the 2024 dog show, which will be as wonderful as most of them have been in the past. And I can't thank you enough for your time. And you know, I'm a great lover of the whole vision of that magic. And I can't wait to be there and in the ring and among everybody else who's there. So what I'm going to say is on behalf of the Canine Chronicle, on their webpage and on their Facebook page, and Westminster as our partner in this particular interview, thank you so much for letting me have this interview. And next time, Fashionistas, maybe it'll be from my closet next year, I'm hoping. That would be a really nice thing to be doing that again. And thank you, Don. Thank you so very, very, very much.
thanks, Elaine. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's so good to see you. I can't wait to see you in May in your outfit.
Me too.